All right, welcome back. So we are chugging along. Time to make this edit button do something, right? So if I go look at the deployed version, we're going to break this into kind of like two chunks, right? So first off, when you click on add quote, you can see it shows up. It says add quote. It actually focuses on the top element. And if you were to click on one of these edits, it brings up the modal again, but it says edit this movie quote. And you can see the buttons here say edit quote and things like that. So in this video, we're going to work on showing the modal with the appropriate text strings. But in this video, we're not going to highlight, or we're not going to auto-populate the text. We'll do that in the next one. So really, we want a modal that shows up with this correct, with that correct, and then we also want to add this little autofocus on that top dialog. That's our goal for this time. So showing the modal is fairly easy. Probably what I would do is I would just go look at where we were showing the modal the first time and kind of copy that behavior. So the first time we were showing the modal, it was up near the top in the nav bar. Where'd the nav bar go? So the nav bar right here. So it says toggle the modal and point to the add quote modal. So I'm just going to get that on my clipboard. So I just copied that. And then I come down here to the button. This one was the one for edit. And I'm simply going to just add those data attributes to this guy as well. So just with that little simple change, the modal will start showing up. It will not have the new title or the new button that we want yet, but it will at least start showing up. So if I click on this guy, you can see that it popped up, which is good. Next, what we'd like to do is we'd like to have our two entry paths show different things. So we want to show different text on this entry path than this entry path. So there's kind of two ways to come in. We're going to add JavaScript to do that. The easiest way to add JavaScript is we want to have some way to reference those two buttons, right? So it'd be nice to have some ID or some class on them that will make them easy to reference. That's just part of how JavaScript works. So you can see our add quote right now. I mean, we could reference it by, looking for the first anchor that's inside the nav bar, and that'd be fine. But there's really no reason not to add some simple ID. Let's just add the ID add quote. So whenever I want to reference that guy, add quote. That'll make my life easier. And then the button below, if I ever want to reference him, there's a lot of these. So I can't say ID, because if I said ID, then there'd be a lot of buttons all with the same ID, and that'd be no good, right? So I'm going to call this one edit movie quote. So you're probably asking yourself, why did I say edit movie quote, and why did I say add quote? Why aren't they the same? And I'd say that's a good question. They probably should have been, but I made the notes like this, and I'm sticking with it. Added those things. Great. Let's go inside our JavaScript. And let's give ourselves an opportunity to do some JavaScript thing when those are clicked, right? So the first one we'll grab is we'll just grab our $ add quote. And so if somebody clicks him, then we're going to have a function that does some stuff. And then our other one is if somebody clicks on somebody with the class edit movie quote, I think I made it singular, have his click call the function that is here. All right, so now I've kind of got some placeholders in there. If they clicked on add quote, what we'd like to do is we'd like to make sure that the title and the button have the text that we want in them. Actually, you know what? To be honest, since there's two paths to come in here, I don't like for the modal to be called add quote modal anymore. This is no longer really an accurate name. I think a better name would be the name insert. So anywhere you see add quote modal, let's instead say the insert. So I'm going to use insert in these videos a lot. Insert to me means both add or edit. So if you ever see the word insert, it kind of means both. And what the heck, I'll change it for the screen readers to insert movie quote. So my insert movie quote, sometimes it's going to say one title. So I'm just going to go ahead and search for the insert quote modal. And specifically, I'm going to look for the title that's inside of it. So if I wanted to change the title, what I really need to do is I need to say, hey, I'm inside this this modal, and I want its modal title. So look inside this guy for modal title and make his HTML say add a movie quote. Or in the other path, we want it to say edit this movie quote. So let's try it just kind of as we're building up, just so there's kind of one thing going on at a time. So I'm going to go ahead and refresh. And so if we come in from this path, we say add, it says add a movie quote. It said that by default though, so that's not really a very good test. And then, ooh, I messed up my button. It does work. It says edit this movie quote, but you can see I lost my success. So I fixed it, but I also introduced some problem. Let's go see what I did. Okay, so I see what I did. So I added this class right here, but I actually already had a class attribute. So what I really meant to do is I meant to add this to the existing class list. By making two of them, that was bad, right? So I really should have put that right at the beginning of that. So that way it kept all of its other classes. So there, that should fix that little bug. All right, so now it's refreshed, and now I've got my edit back, and it says edit this movie quote. I still need to change this button down here, though. I'm going to do it in basically the exact same way. I'm just going to go ahead and say, hey, insert movie quote modal, but instead of looking for the title, I'm going to look for something different. So if I look around in this guy, I can see that he's got a button of type submit, so I can refer to that. That's more than enough information to grab the right one. Heck, I'll just go ahead and say button of type equal to submit. So that will definitely grab that guy, and I'll just have him say add quote, or I'll have him say edit quote, depending on which path I entered this area. Save that up. Let's go ahead and refresh it again. So if I come in, I'll do it in reverse order. So if I come in this way, it says edit this movie quote, and it says edit quote there. But if I come in this way, it says add a movie quote, and it says add quote there. The other thing I would like to fix is if somebody clicks on this and then just starts typing, it should work, right? So right now you actually have to click in the input before it has focus and before it lets you type. I don't like that. Let's fix it. So we're JavaScript people now. So let's go ahead and go into our JavaScript. And in the same way that we kind of had an enable buttons function, let's go ahead and make a new one that says attach event handlers. I mean, you could name the function whatever you wanted. Just make sure you name it the same thing in two places, right? And so in the same way that we've kind of got our enable buttons, let's go ahead and add before or after that attach event handlers. And what we really want to do in here is we want to listen for an event. So listening for an event, when the modal is shown, we want to do something, right? So let's go ahead and start typing some jQuery fun here. So we're going to look for our insert quote modal. He's going to be firing an event. So we're going to say on. This is a jQuery function, so we're learning a little bit about jQuery as we go. We're going to listen to the modal to fire something. You can actually learn more about the modal and what events they fire from Bootstrap. So modal's over in the JavaScript land. And if you scroll down to the modal section, there's actually a whole big section in here about different events that he fires and things like that. And so here it is. So whenever he's shown, he fires this event, and the name of this event is shown.bs.modal. They use namespacing as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy that to my clipboard, come over here, and say, hey, whenever you see that event, call a function for me. Call this function. And so now whenever that event occurs, so whenever this element fires this event, call this function. And the function that we'd like to do is we'd like to set the focus on that first input. So the way that we do that with jQuery is we just we grab the element itself. So it is an input with the type equal to quote, and we just say dot focus. All right, so now whenever this event happens, it should put focus on that. Let's go try it out, right? So we added a lot of code there. Back to our page, click on refresh. And so now when we click on add quote, it should show up and be highlighted. Failed miserably. Made a typo somewhere. Gonna have to go fix it. All right, so I got to figure out what's wrong with this. I actually see it right away. I wrote type there, but instead of just telling you a solution, let's show you how I kind of debug. So one of the ways that I debug is I add logs, right? So like I want to make sure that it called this function, and so I can just add something in there. There's also ways you can use debuggers, which are great skills, and you know we should teach you how to do that too. But for right now, I'm just going to kind of show you some debugging tricks. And so the first thing that I would probably do is I just add some simple logs, and just so I can kind of see is my JavaScript even getting here? Like is this handler even loaded? So when I run it now, I should hopefully see that it did call my attach event handler. And then whenever I click add quote, it does say it was shown. So you can kind of see like that code is running, but then this line didn't do anything. And the problem is just that I said type here, and I meant to say name. The type was just text. It's the name of it that is called quote, which is all I really wanted. All right, so now I've added that little little improvement. Refresh my page. So now whenever I click on add quote, you can see presto, it actually added the focus to that top input. Likewise, if I come in from an edit, it adds that focus to that top input. So these little features, they take time to add, but they're definitely worth you figuring out and doing. It also gave us a chance to learn some slightly more advanced jQuery. So we got to learn about this jQuery on, which listens for some event. Here the name of the event was some Bootstrap specific thing, and then once the modal is shown, I add focus to that input element and snap it there. All right, that's it for this time. I suppose we ought to eventually, when I click on edit, actually populate it with the old values and make it actually do an edit, whereas right now it would just do another add if you actually tried to use it, because it's not functional yet. See you next time. Bye.